I am definitely a less is more artist when it comes to working on set, and anyone that's worked on Christopher Nolan's set as a makeup artist will attest to this as well. In a way, that was a really interesting training ground. As a director, he's someone that runs a very controlled, very distraction-free set. I'd rather stand back in the shadows in the corner and have my eyes on my actor all day long and know when I have to step in and when I don't have to step in than be one of those artists that goes in take after take and can break distraction and just waste time. So when I was very young, I got to work on the Matrix film set in a lot of the locations in and around Sydney and what they call the CBD of Sydney, Central Business District. And getting to be on a set and be in the presence of watching the Wachowskis direct Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss was pretty cool, and entirely blew my mind because you had cameras on the top of skyscrapers, and I couldn't believe the money that went into this show. But that was one of the experiences, having worked with Nikki Gooley on a previous job where she couldn't afford to pay us to come in and do the sort of funky background makeups, and so she promised to get me work on her next project, and that was it. So it was a pretty great way to start my career, but I definitely felt at the time that it was something pretty cool. When you get the call and they say, oh, by the way, we're going to shoot in 35mm, it's quite exciting. Or even on The Walking Dead, which was shot in 16mm for most of its run, and I'm talking about the original series. The quality of film grade gives film a much more lush, almost romanticism. Having said that, I think that digital medium nowadays, they do try to put that in post-production, but there's just something different about that crisp image. And like I said, you know, when you can see not only the pores on someone's face, but the hairs coming out of those pores, it's a pretty terrifying ask, you know, to put makeup on. I worked on Oppenheimer a couple of years ago, and that was pretty much the most terrifying job as far as the pressure we were under, and at the same time the short time constraints we had to create the old age makeups for Louisa Abel and Jamie Lee McIntosh, who was the hair designer, on a day-to-day basis was really exciting but incredibly challenging as well. And Louisa had made these incredible glasses that she has now coined her IMAX glasses. And they were based on her own eyesight prescription and then bumped up as a magnifier. So and she got us all pairs for the one big day where we had everyone aged in the 1960s. I think it's 11 cast members. And so you would put the glasses on and you'd literally have to be this close to your performer to look at their skin. And with Killian, for me, it was always about applying the Baldy's makeup mix in the direction of the baby hairs on his face, because those hairs could catch the aging makeup and just distract the eye and cause the makeup not to sit properly on the skin. So yeah, it was definitely a real eye-opener. And then having said that, we filmed in 70mm film stock, and it was on a digital screen as well. So it was sort of crossed all technical challenges as far as the medium is concerned, I think. I think that in terms of sort of hue and I guess colour timing, that most of the time these days, part of that is out of our control. You know, we do makeup tests if we're lucky and have time, and we go to set and you use your eye to take in the lighting that's in person at the time, and different cinematographers shoot completely differently, or you might be outside, which is its own set of challenges and how cruel and harsh it can be, particularly on prosthetic makeups. But then once you film, it's completely out of your control what they want to do with it in post-production. My career sort of ebbed and flowed between the two, where I started out mainly in beauty because I was scared of doing special effects, and I think that came from my young age as well. And then sort of falling into the job on Farscape, which led to probably 10 or so years of just doing prosthetic work, and then once again coming back to here over 10 years after that, and then getting into the union and realising how important it was to do beauty makeup at the time. So once that happened and I got to work on a lot of period projects particularly, I found that understanding colour theory is really important, and making colour choices and colour correction. Once you sort of, I don't want to say master special effects, but understand painting, particularly when you go to do a beauty makeup and you might have to correct someone that has purples or blues or greens under their eyes, that these things come quite naturally. So definitely colour theory and painting, they go hand in hand for sure. And then it's also, in a way, having come off The Walking Dead for a few years, where you're painting cracks in people's lips and trying to make features out of what we spend the most time covering up in beauty makeups. It's like they're virtually the reverse set of principles as well. So they definitely, if you are skilled at both, it can be very mutually beneficial for sure. I think that the biggest reason for me creating the Makeup Refinery, or it came out of COVID and 2020 and having this kind of wake-up call one day where I thought there might be a world we lived in the future where I would never put makeup on anyone again. And ironically, the blog is now about makeup. It started off just me blogging about gardening and lots of other things, but it just kind of expanded, and once we got back into work again by the end of 2020, I realised that things were coming back. It was just a little different. So it became clear that there was this opportunity for me to use the blog to help everyday people understand their skin and to understand techniques that, as a professional makeup artist, you might take for granted that not everybody knows. So it grew very quickly, but nowadays my audience does range from the everyday makeup consumer to professional makeup artists, and to people starting out in their careers as well. I just want to help everybody.